Apollo's theme is perfect for the guy who, in his first solo court outing, objected twice in a row just to make sure everyone heard him. So I was listening to the Ace Attorney soundtrack, as one does, and I ended up listening to Apollo's personal objection themes from his 3 games back to back. And it's got me dying to talk about how, as Apollo's character develops over the course of the trilogy, that's being demonstrated through the evolution of his theme, and it's really cool. Hello, I'm V. I like talking about themes in media, although not usually musical ones, I just got excited. And to set your expectations, this isn't going to be some deep technical dive. I was a band kid, but never really into music theory, so I'm just going in as a fan here. I will also put a link down below to a playlist containing any songs or videos that I mention, as well as some related ones that I thought you might find interesting. Let's get started. What I'm talking about when I say Apollo's theme, I'm talking about the track known in English as Apollo Justice, A New Era Begins, or A New Chapter of Trials, or A New Trial is in Session. There's nuance in the translation. This track and the entire Apollo Justice Ace Attorney soundtrack was composed by Toshihiko Horiyama. I love this track. I feel like it captures Apollo's energy of determination with a little bit of naivete. It's bright and driving, but also structured. Apollo at this point has some very strongly held beliefs about the way that the world is. Defense attorneys have a very specific job, Phoenix Wright would never lie. At one point he tells Trucy that as a lawyer he loves needless procedures, and honestly, I kind of believe him. And so Apollo's theme has a sort of precision to the way that the notes are placed. They're all very staccato and short. It's aggressive but tentative. That's most clear in my favorite tiny detail of the song, the very first note. The song enters with an aggressive downbeat. Perfect for the guy who, in his first solo court outing, objected twice in a row just to make sure everyone heard him. While Phoenix's objection themes also have that determined drive, even in his very first one where he's got that newbie bounciness, they're overall a lot more steady. They don't really jump around and surprise you as much as Apollo's does. In summary, Apollo's original theme is perfect for the new guy on the scene determined to make his mark. A guy who practices yelling, loves structure, and is prepared to doggedly chase down the truth no matter who it leads him to. Before we get to Dual Destinies, I need to mention that there was an orchestral version of Apollo's theme done for the Gyakuten meets Orchestra album, and this arrangement was used as the basis for the one that shows up later in Dual Destinies. Both albums did have the same main composer, Noriyuki Iwadare. However, while the orchestra arrangement added structural changes that would carry over, such as a new solo and ending, I would still describe the character of the song as closer to the original from Ace Attorney 4. So, when I describe the changes made to the Dual Destinies version, I am taking the Gyakuten meets Orchestra version into account. Because while the Dual Destinies soundtrack is overall very orchestral when compared to the previous games, these two versions of the track are still very different. Got it? Let's move on to Dual Destinies. Whoa, okay. So Apollo's new theme isn't just the same but with fancier instruments. It has the same tune as the original, but the vibe is super different. I don't even think I noticed how anxious his original theme sounded until I heard this one for contrast. It's still hitting the notes as aggressively as before, but that short staccato hesitancy is gone. This song is confident, it's bold. When Dual Destinies chronologically begins, it's almost been a whole year since Apollo's debut in court, and it's been 6 months since the Vera Misham trial ended. Apollo is no longer a rookie, he's even got someone more junior than him in the office to mentor now. He's much more settled into his own skin than he was when we first met him, and you can hear it. And then about a minute in, we break for an electric guitar solo. Yeah, we gotta talk about the electric guitar break in the theme of the guy who complained his way through a rock concert, because man, the levels here. First, let's start with, this track didn't have a solo before. You could interpret this as Apollo finding his voice. He has things to say now where he didn't before, even if they might not always gel with what the others think. Because yeah, the next thing is that instrumentally speaking, this break is very different. An electric guitar doesn't usually have a place in an orchestra. Just like that aggressive first note of the track that makes you sit up and take notice, this is another surprise. To be fair, it's not the only place a guitar solo shows up on the Dual Destinies soundtrack. We cannot forget the one in Pursuit Keep Pressing On. That one feels like it has more of a triumphant vibe, while Apollo's solo feels a little more conflicted. Still, the way that the guitar in both tracks stands out so starkly against the rest of the instrumentation makes me more certain that the guitar is meant to represent something like saying something different from the rest of the crowd. In Dual Destinies, Apollo decides that he needs to leave the agency to find his own way to the truth. The others stick with the orchestra while Apollo goes solo to rock out on his own. Or something like that. It's not too crazy, after all, law and rock aren't always so far apart. So yeah, let's talk about Clavier. I don't think it's a leap to suggest that this particular instrument in Apollo's theme could be due to Clavier's influence on him. They spent all that time battling together in court after all, helping each other to grow. And Clavier, with Apollo's help, kept pursuing the truth even when it hurt, when it caused him to doubt the people he cared about. And I don't know how canon the official drama CDs are, but there is an official Ace Attorney story where Apollo realizes he's learned to love rock music because now he associates it with how it felt to face off against Clavier in court. So, this new independent part of Apollo that's grown out of his experiences, a part that's still struggling to figure out his relationship to the truth, having that represented by an electric guitar solo is actually pretty appropriate. In summary, Apollo's second theme still has his drive towards uncovering the truth, but it's shed its tentative newbie feel for a more confident maturity. And while he started asserting his individuality, as we're about to see, it's not a journey that he's completed just yet. Okay, Spirit of Justice time. What is this? Is this even the same song? Okay, so to establish our new baseline, compared to Dual Destinies, the Spirit of Justice soundtrack is jazzier? That's not quite right. Overall, the Spirit of Justice is looser, funkier compared to the more regal era of Dual Destinies. This album actually had 3 main composers, with Iwadare and Horiyama returning, and 1 newcomer in Masame Onodera. However, according to the liner notes, Iwadare was still in charge of Apollo's theme for this one. With that established, Apollo's third theme carries forward the bold confidence he gained by Dual Destinies into an almost casualness. While there's still structure here, the notes are longer, there's a looser funkiness. If you listen to this track and then go back to the original, you really feel how uptight he was by comparison. Now let's talk about the solos. And yes, I said solos plural because in addition to the one after the 1 minute mark, Apollo speaks up even earlier this time. Around 35 seconds in, when back in Dual Destinies, the track dropped down into Apollo's orderly beats. In Spirit of Justice, we still have that, but now coming in on top of it, we have this funky, almost improvised sounding lick. And unlike last time's electric guitar versus orchestra contrast, this one doesn't sound nearly as jarring. It blends in better with the full picture. The instrument itself has changed too. It still sounds like something electric, but it's more harp-y. Something that would feel at home with the Kureni's instrumentation. And this influence is intentional because Spirit of Justice still uses electric guitar elsewhere, like in Athena's Objection theme. Which absolutely kicks ass. This new solo instrument isn't contained to those little sections either. It comes in and says what it needs to, and then it hangs around. You can hear it pop in to do its thing occasionally for the rest of the track, even when it's not featured. And that leads into another word I would use to describe this track: cohesive. Apollo's theme was always well put together, it was never a mess or anything, but there were clear separate elements to it, phrases that would come in and drop out in more defined chunks. Those pieces are all still here, but now they blend together more smoothly into one stream. It doesn't have that need to keep jumping around to grab your attention, it just does its thing and is confident that you will listen. Remember that very first note? Let's listen to them one after another and we can see how it changes. Do you hear how tentative that first one sounds now? By Spirit of Justice, he's still entering just as strongly, but he isn't backing off anymore. I also don't think that Apollo we first met would have been open-minded enough to make the leaps of logic necessary to figure out what was going on in the last case. Dual Destinies Apollo needed Phoenix to make the truly wild leaps for him. This Apollo has learned to do it himself. This is a track for someone who knows that tough times are going to come, but he isn't worried, because he's learned to adapt to handle whatever's thrown his way. I'll be honest, the first time I played Spirit of Justice, I wasn't sure how I felt about what they did with Apollo. But replaying all three games together at the same time I was working on this video, I've really come to like the full picture of Apollo's story. We meet Apollo as a guy with a lot of fire, but nothing really to fuel it. For Phoenix, we got a reason why he does what he does. He wants to defend people with nobody else on their side. But we didn't really get that for Apollo. He starts his game as someone who feels like he's stuck on the rules because he doesn't have anything else. In the finale of that game, when Clavier and the judge share what they know about the true nature of the law, Apollo realizes he doesn't have anything to say because he doesn't understand it enough. But he wants to learn. And he does. By the end of Spirit of Justice, Apollo has not only gained a true understanding of the law like he wanted, but he's ready to rewrite the rules himself. And I think that's pretty cool. Thank you for watching/listening. If this video pointed out something you might not have had a reason to notice before, I hope you'll give it a like. And if you guys have any other insights about these tracks, the soundtrack in general, Apollo's story, I'd love to chat about it in the comments. I've been wondering if we'll ever get another mainline Ace Attorney game, and I'm honestly not sure. The story kind of feels like it's done, but I also felt that way after Trials and Tribulations, and here we are, so who knows? As a final note, I need to let you guys know that while I was finishing this video, Spotify Wrapped came out and 3 of my top 5 songs are Apollo's theme. And oh, what's that at number 9? The slower, more emotional version of Apollo's theme? 4 of my top 10 tracks are the same song. I'm gonna go listen to something else for now. See ya!